package in the mail, MSX games from Japan. Collecting without fail those shoot 'em ups, and that's the plan. He doesn't just collect them, he also codes them too. Join us and we'll go on electric adventures with you.
Hey YouTube, Electric Adventures here with my channel update for May 2020. Very interesting, well, I suppose you could say interesting month in the world. I'm sure everybody around the world is having all sorts of interesting issues with the virus outbreak and restrictions and everything like that. Yep, I've been working and earning enough money to put food on the table for my family, so that's all good. I know other people out there aren't necessarily doing as well. Postage has slowed down to virtually be non-existent though, because I am in Tasmania, Australia, so another body of water for stuff to get across. No flights, so there's no room for the post. So even just normal letters are taking a couple of weeks to get here from the mainland, let alone any packages from overseas. But something that did arrive that I think I bought in March, and it's related to actually a present I got I showed in last month's video for my birthday thing. So my son-in-law and daughter bought me a little plastic model kit, a little Star Destroyer, which have actually popped up in local stores, but I believe it was around March or maybe even February. There were a couple on the I think it was Alibaba or whatever it is, and I bought them as well. So I also got the X-Wing. I haven't opened these at all yet to have a look at the actual kits inside, and the Death Star 2. And I have started assembling the other one, which was the Star Destroyer. But I have done model kits for a little while, so I've been taking my time and I've been distracted by other things, so didn't really much. Pardon me. Shouldn't make videos just after having your lunch. Didn't really make much progress. So that's actually it for the pickups for the month. So nothing else at all, but I'm sure there will be more pickups in the future. I did get some things, but I've made some specific videos on those. So the next video of this will be an item that I've been waiting for some time. Let's say it's another mini console of a particular thing, and I'm sure there has been a few videos on these. Because of the freight, mine took a little while to get here, but it doesn't lower the excitement. So expect that video in the next few days. And sorry, my video output has still been a little low, but it is very difficult to make videos in a household when you've got lots of extra people in there. You know, it's better to be family social than to nick off into, you know, like this room, which is outside. It's also winter here too, so it actually gets dark fairly early. So this is in the afternoon because I'm only working mornings at my normal work, and I'm not doing any extra work today. I'm having a bit of a break, so I had time to make a video, but I don't always get that chance. So as a bit of a fill-in for this video, I'll do one that I fully intended to make a separate video for, which was to respond to Novabug's his last Friday foursome. Can't remember what number it is. I think it's number 25. So this will, by the time I put this up, this will probably be, he'll have the next one out, but please go check out his video. I'll put a link down below. And it was I believe top 4 gaming disappointments. So the 4 times where you've been disappointed by a gaming release. And I've got a few to go through, so we'll start back in time. So probably one of my original, way back in the day, gaming disappointments. Besides the fact of no extra software coming out for my original Spectravideo computer, this is in the MSX era. So we'd already had some wonderful arcade titles like Track and Field, and their independent titles Sky Jaguar and Gradius and Nemesis, as it was called on the MSX. And Konami titles were just fantastic, and each one, you know, Antarctic Adventure, Circus Charlie, they're all really enjoyable and fun to play. There was another popular arcade game a couple of years after the initial release of the MSX called Green Beret, and I actually quite liked that arcade game. It was hard. I probably didn't play it very much. I still didn't have much money to put into the arcade machines. When I heard a version was coming out for the MSX, I thought this was going to be the biggest thing everybody would want a copy and everything like that. And it was being released by Konami. So I sort of got my copy here. So 1986 we're talking here. So later too, so you'd think people would also be getting even better at utilising the hardware of the machine. But for some odd reason, Konami outsourced the programming of this game to, I believe it was Ocean. And they have quite literally done a lazy Spectrum port, and not even done a very good job of that, and whacked it on a cartridge with the Konami name on it. So this is the thing. I don't have a particularly fantastic condition one, but I am not spending money on this game. It is quite simply dreadful, almost completely unplayable, and so disappointing in a game that probably could have been easily done on the system way better. And it is virtually unplayable in its difficulty level and unfairness, and it's just not fun, and was a massive disappointment to me. So, I mean, I'm not doing this in any particular order. I probably could have put that as my number 1, but I've kept it as my number 4. My number 3, I don't actually have a prop in my hand for this one. We go along to the release of the Wii U. So I actually bought the Wii U on launch, and we were very happy with the system. My family and girls have played the Nintendo Land one that came with it. We also got Lego City, and that was a great game on the thing. But there was one game, because we also got the GameCube on launch as well, and we got Luigi's Mansion with that, as well as Star Wars, the Star Wars Rebel Assault game, which was fantastic at the time, and I got heaps of other Star Wars titles for the GameCube, and that'll relate into another story later for another one of the selections. But the Wii U didn't do that well. It was received okay, but then they didn't. The releases started to slow down. There were some good games for the system, and then there started to be the hints that they were going to bring out Luigi's Mansion, but they didn't actually bring it out for the Wii U. See, also people forget that Nintendo 3DS wasn't actually selling that well. It got off to a bit of a slow start, and they did bring out Luigi's Mansion 2 for the 3DS, and they did the Super Mario World for both the Wii U and the 3DS, but they didn't do Luigi's Mansion. The sales of the 3DS picked up, and the Wii U was left lacking. All they needed was a key title like that, and the Wii U could have done much better. I actually quite liked it as a console for a while. I probably only finally gave up on it when I've just found another title I could have picked for this category as well. We're talking about Star Fox as well. Also a very big disappointment for the Wii U. I bought it and played it. Have never finished it. I just got tired of it, so it was also a bit of a disappointment. So number 3 has a bit of in 2 parts. Alright, so moving right along, let's go slightly more modern. So we're up to PS3 era now, and I was fairly heavy PlayStation 3 user throughout that period, and obviously I like my Star Wars games, but I also really liked the original Aliens vs Predator. And this is actually a really good game. Aliens for a start, which I really like the universe, but it's a great first-person shooter with a bit of story, a bit of exploring, and just a good, fun game. So of course, when the next game came out, I rushed out and bought it. So Aliens Colonial Marines, but this is a buggy, complete and absolute disaster of a game. When it first came out, I tried to play it and gave up. I have later since gone back to it, and I have persevered, and I have finally gotten all the way through it, but it was so painful. And I'm sure this is the version. And it's got so many bugs in it. It's unbelievably buggy that have never been fixed. And even I suppose later it might have been patched a little bit, but I can't imagine how something of this poor quality was released. Now the later game, the title's losing me now. I'll put a thing up here on the Nostromo and everything like that. That's a completely different kettle of fish. Although that game actually soured me to it, so I got it the special edition for the PlayStation 3. Never played it, until I actually bought it again off my brother-in-law for when I first got my PlayStation 4. So, you know, it can really, something like that, an event like that, can really put you off a game series for quite some time. Now, I do, and this is going to my number one disappointment, and we're going to circle back to Star Wars here. So you guys can probably guess what this is going to be. I really have bought a lot of Star Wars games over the years. You know, I was a heavy Star Wars gamer on the PC, Nintendo 64, or even my Super Nintendo, the two games I had for it for a long period of time, other than the cricket game, were the first two Super Star Wars titles. And then the Nintendo 64 came along. Obviously I got the Marios and the Zeldas, but then I started buying all the Star Wars games, and I really enjoyed them. I bought the GameCube for the Star Wars game, and then I bought the rest of the Star Wars games for that one. Then there's been a big dearth of Star Wars games since then. There's just been none. Not counting Lego games here, and even those stopped once EA seemed to stop once EA got the permission to do Star Wars games. So we really should know where we're going here. And I said I really do like first-person shooter games, but I'm not really a set map, run around and get shot by other people online sort of person. It really does not interest me at all. I've never been attracted to that sort of game. And I said I have played Call of Duty, but in the story mode and things like that. So I played all of those games right back from the early versions and things like that, and have enjoyed them. Now give me a game like the Wolfenstein series where you get a proper single player campaign where you work through and have a story. I really enjoyed those. So I pre-ordered Star Wars Battlefront. I even have a poster up here. I have a mug and I have a t-shirt, and it came in a box and everything like that, and I got this game, and I have played this for less than 20 minutes. So this is definitely my number one disappointment in a game ever. And so much so I completely and utterly boycotted the second game in the series, and refused to buy it and give EA any more money until basically I found a second-hand copy for less than $20, and eventually I bought a second-hand copy for $12, and I still haven't actually played it. And I know it's supposed to have a little bit of story in there, but I just could not be bothered. And it took me ages to buy Star Wars The Fallen Order as well, and I still haven't actually properly played it. So once again, this game was so bad it soured me from any of the Star Wars games that were coming out. So shows the strong. So there's my 4. What are your 4? Please answer down below, or go and have a look at Novabug's video and answer there, or maybe make one of your own videos. As I said, the time has cut off. He normally does these monthly, and he'll probably be doing a new one soon, but it doesn't hurt. I'd be interested to know what your picks are. So that's my main content for this month. I will do a quick homebrew update. So going through my titles, so Cavern Fighter for the ColecoVision has been tested reasonably thoroughly now. A couple little bits of feedback. I've added a second control mechanism, so it works better if you've got a 2-button controller and you want a bit more finesse, especially if you've got an arcade stick. Adjusted some little tweaks in the difficulty, and fixed a couple little minor bugs, but that one's actually looking pretty solid. The latest sets of tests have come back pretty clean with no comments so far. So about the only thing that I want to add to that is just when you first start the game, something akin to the music that you get when you start a game of Scramble. So just some sort of opening ditty there, just to flesh it out. The rest of the sound effects aren't too bad and everything. So that one's just about finished. I also have plans to backport that, because that was actually originally written for the original Spectravideo and MSX. So I'm going to backport the Coleco version, that's the latest one, back to the MSX and Spectravideo. And on news of that front, there is a gentleman who has managed to make a mould for just pressure pressing cartridge shells for the original Spectravideo. So I do have PCBs for the original Spectravideo, and I also have PCBs for the MSX. So I will probably, especially with now the Australian exchange rate is the way it is, producing copies of both of Cavern Fighter for both the original Spectravideo and MSX myself. I may extend the game a little bit for those guys, because they're not limited on memory like the Coleco was. but the game is running pretty well, so we'll see how we go. But that's a project for when I've finished off another couple of things. Berserk, I haven't really made much progress since I last reported because I have been a bit busy with work and things like that. As my main focus now is to finally make some progress on Sydney Hunter, because it's been far too long since I've made some progress on that one. And at the moment, if I said go on both Cavern Fighter and Berserk, it would be very difficult for the guys at Collectivision to both get the cartridges produced and the boxes produced, and then even more importantly actually mail them to everybody, because the postage services is pretty rotten. So I might as well spend the next month, obviously I will do some more work on Berserk just to finish off some of the gameplay adjustments and things like that, but I'll be mainly focusing on getting Sydney Hunter and the Caverns Disc as finished as I can make it. And then all of those games can all be released at once by Collectivision and sent out to everybody. I've also started quite a few people missed out on my original game for the Collectivision, which was EA Classics, which is a collection of the three very first machine code games I wrote for the original Spectravideo and converted over to the MSX in one cartridge. So at the moment there's just an expressions of interest page on Atari Age. If I remember, I'll put a link down below to that. But shortly, when all the others go up for sale, they'll all go up on the Collectivision website, so you'll be actually able to order that. And we've got enough people to do another run of at least another maybe 50 cartridges, and that'll help for people who missed out on that the first time. And as I said, I really am enjoying concentrating on doing my homebrew. And otherwise, my new area, which I showed you last month, is really comfortable for just coming in here, sitting down and playing some games and relaxing, which is a good thing in these times. Alright, so a bit of a rambling video, but I hope everybody out there is safe and well and enjoying their retro gaming. I'm Electric Adventures, thanks to all my subscribers, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.